Let's go to Donegal. Actually, before we go to Donegal, got to dump the rubbish at the skip. Skip opens at 7:45. No, skip closes at 7:45. It opens at 8:30. So now, between here and Donegal, I have to find somewhere to dump my rubbish. Dump it properly, but dump it. Anyway, Donegal via another skip. Let's go. Well, welcome to County Donegal. Certainly slightly different weather than when I was here a few weeks ago when I was actually up. So this is Dunree Head. Just up here is Dunree Fort. Just out in the sunshine is Fanad Lighthouse with a gannet just dropping into the water as well. And when I was up in Dunree Head last time, I noticed this beach which was just gorgeous. But of course, back then the light, the sunshine was beautiful. Today it's slightly more Irish weather. Anyway, I was making my way down to the shoreline and once again got transfixed by the reeds. And so what I'm kind of attempting here, it's not working out maybe as good as I had hoped, but what I'm looking at is a composite with maybe a half a second shutter speed for the foreground, just to give a little bit of movement in those reeds, and then a slightly longer exposure for the sky. The clouds are moving somewhat. Now, of course, what I really want is just a little bit of light to come in and just give a little bit of tonality to the reeds, which doesn't really look that hopeful, but I'll play about a little bit here. For the exposure for the sky, I'm using a 10-stop ND filter and a 2-stop grad. Shooting at f13, ISO 200 and about a 10-second exposure. For the foreground, I'm then removing the ND filter and just letting the ND grad just to hold back a little bit of the highlights in the sky, even though I'm not really going to be using those, just in case I want to kind of blend in a little bit between the horizon of the grass and of the reeds and the sky. And I'm shooting that at about an 1/8 of a second, just to give a little bit of movement in the reeds. But the great thing about shooting in this sort of environment is play about with different settings. I'm also shooting at 10 seconds against the reeds. You know, you just never know whenever you take it back to the post-processing whether that's going to work. I just think that the shorter exposure for the reeds, slightly longer exposure for the sky, is going to work just that little bit better. So this is Dunree Head, making my way up the Inishowen Peninsula towards Malin Head. I'll dump off my stuff at the hostel, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, we get a little bit of a sunset tonight. Who knows? Anyway, time to have a bit more fun on these reeds. Catch up in a bit. Bye bye. On the beach, in the wind as always, still quite grey, but there's just a little bit of light coming through. It's going to be quite windy, so hopefully you can still hear me, but there's just a little bit of light coming through, and in situations like this, where there's maybe not a lot of colour, what I'm looking for here is textures and tones. And so what I have is, I found this little pool of water with the lovely sort of ripples that of course the light is just catching. And so actually metering for that. Just enhances that kind of tonality throughout the image. I'm actually shooting again with a grad, 3-stop ND grad and a 10-stop ND filter. Just trying to get a little bit of movement in those clouds, and yeah, just ever so it's probably quite difficult to see, but there's just possibly enough light just here where there's this little sort of pool of water gathered to maybe make a little bit of an image. My preference would be that there would be a bit stronger light, or at least some light, on the rocks on the cliff face in the distance. But this is most certainly a beach that I'd come back to in better conditions. I really like it, and this is round by Moor Gap. Right, I'm going to try another few of these, focusing on, remember, black and white. Think black and white, think tonality, think textures, think tones when the conditions are like this. Adding an ND filter to hopefully put a bit of movement in those clouds. I'll throw up an image, we can see what that looks like. I'm also quite worried if any of this is quicksand. I seem to always have that in my mind, that I'm going to just bimble down into onto a beach and just disappear forever. Well, if this camera is found in 500 years' time, hello, I got buried by quicksand. Don't ever let it be said that landscape photographers don't earn their keep. It was tough. Wind, squalls, every 30 seconds wiping raindrops off. Trying not to get blown over, trying not to get sand on the lens, trying to get that sand in all my bits and bobs. But I've said it before and I've said it again. Landscape photographers, you need to be at the edge of weather. It's the only place where conditions are going to potentially just open. Now, they weren't spectacular out there, but they certainly were ish. You can see the strength of the wind. It's kind of blowing this door shut and everything. But yeah, be at the edge of weather. Right, I'm gonna have a cup of tea now and move on. Pause it before I get blown away. Got my head chopped off by this door. And I didn't sink in the quicksand, so the whole find this in 500 years time, ignore that. Right, cup of tea. Raindrops keep falling on my lens. It's beautiful, but it's so frustrating. You literally have about 1/10 of a second to get your shot, and then there's raindrops. And to be honest, it's not even raining. I don't know where they're coming from. The colour of the water out here, the colour of the water is like, wow. But you just can't shoot. Ah! Frustration mundo. And there's actually a bigger squall coming in. Right, this is a place I'm coming back to because it has fantastic potential, and it needs the sort of rain and the blah. In fact, let me take you over and show you what I'm looking at. 2 minutes. Let's go. Kind of like that. comes another squall. The colour of that water, these stones, little natural pools to pick up the light. Almost a bit of an S-curve leading, and we love S-curves that lead to that aqua-coloured water and the mountains with the light and the goodness me, I'm being blown everywhere. Right, quick, back to the car. Beautiful. Right, so again, apologies for the wind. So unlike a lot of coastal photography where you wait for the wave to break right in front of you, I actually think there's enough interest in these stones that I'm actually firing the shutter as the wave is breaking out there, because it's actually creating some, just there. I think that is just actually creating a nice little bit of interest, and I think this wave's going to come up around me, is it? Yep. So I'll just take a wee dander back. I'll take another wee dander forward. So actually, the shutter's firing now, and it's catching those waves in about the middle of the frame. I think that's working quite well. And this tide's coming in pretty quickly, so as always with beach coastal photography, pay attention to where the tide is. I can't wait to get my new bag, more on that later, because one of the biggest risks of doing coastal photography is your bag getting washed away as you leave it down, so never leave it down. Rogue waves, you can pick up your tripod and run, but if you've left your bag somewhere, game over, right? Hopefully this light's going to come out, light up those sand dunes, keep the nice dark sky behind it, tide coming in. Technical, shooting at f13, 3-stop ND grad, 10-stop ND filter, and between 8 and 10 seconds, ISO 200 on the XE2 with a 10 to 24. And my new baby, the XT1 and the 18 to 135. Ooh. And I have another little present waiting on me at home, but again, more on that later. Right. This light, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes, here comes the light, here comes the light.